You're listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla. The Week in Review, which normally airs at this time, is in recess. What we have for you today is the Q&A session that followed the webinar on June 24th, 2023. Supersoldiers and Ascended Masters.
All right, our first question comes from Darren. Darren would like to know, when will the Earth Alliance finally go public and reveal to the general public about ETs, the Galactic Federation, and Earth's history?
Well, that's already happening. There have been some extraordinary developments over the last few weeks in terms of the number of whistleblowers that are coming forward talking about these alien reverse engineering projects that have been revealed to Congress, that are being discussed in closed-door sessions, and that the major media are picking up on that. The fact that the major media is picking up on that is showing that the deep state and the Earth Alliance, they're in a tug of war over how much of this information to release. But the deep state wants to release some of it because they need to get ahead of the curve. They can't allow themselves to be caught flat-footed if too much information is revealed through the alternative community that is verified. So it is happening right now that there is an unprecedented amount of information that is now being for the first time reported in the mainstream media. The alternative community is getting it. Now, more and more information is circulating in the alternative community. And, the fact is that as the public is told that these alien reverse engineering programs are happening, then the public, because their kind of like appetite is whetted right now, all of a sudden it's like, well, where can I find information? You're not going to find it in mainstream. They're going to go to alternative media sources, or they're going to go to friends and family who know about this and talk about it. So I think what we're going to have is this kind of like gradual process where there's an awakening that is happening without being too disruptive. So I think the Earth Alliance is nurturing this process forward. And that is why people like JP, Helena Denan, Jean-Charles Moyen, and others are allowed to come forward because they're being protected by the Earth Alliance. They want this information to come out, but it's not going to come out through the mainstream media. This information about what's really going on, real life, current events, is going to come through the alternative media and through your sources that are reporting on this. And I'm very happy to be part of that process.
Our next question, Darren asks, Dr. Salla, will we eventually find out which Cedar race we come from?
What I would say in terms of finding out which Cedar race you come from, I mean, this is something that organically comes to you when you're ready for it. I mean, it's great to have that intellectual curiosity, like, what Cedar race am I associated with? But as you immerse yourself more into the information, as you go deeper within yourself, connect with that source energy through meditation, whatever tool you use to be able to go into that place of stillness and quiet. I remember many years ago, back in the 1980s, I first read Mahatma Gandhi's book, Satyagraha, and he spoke about listening to the small voice within. And back in 1983, 84, I was 24, 25, and I had no idea what he was talking about. The small, still voice inside. How do I listen to that? And that's taken me, what is it, over 4 decades now. 4 decades of meditation research to understand what he was talking about. That there is a place within where you access that through meditation or stillness, going to nature and just being immersed in nature or or achieving those peak states of consciousness, where all of a sudden your mind goes still. And that's when you actually, it seems strange, but your mind goes still, but your brain starts to produce gamma brain waves, and you are connected. And you get answers to things. So that's where I think you'll get answers about which extraterrestrial group you're connected to, which Cedar group you are connected to. Definitely, I highly recommend reading Alain Denan's book, A Gift from the Stars, the Cedars book. If you want to find out which Cedar group you're associated with, read those books. Whatever resonates with you, that's gonna give you a clue. But to act upon that clue, you've got to go within to manifest that connection.
Richard writes, are there extended lifespan humans over 100 years old who obtained access to life extension technology that they're not sharing with the rest of humanity, and who are running the secret space program and breakaway civilizations?
Yeah, that is totally happening. I mean, that's been happening for some time now, that the secret space programs, individuals at a certain point can, especially people like, one example that I've been told, Werner von Braun. Of course, people think that, I think he died in 1974. But according to one source that has come to me, he has seen Werner von Braun looking like in his 20s after von Braun's death. So what I think happened was that with an individual like Werner von Braun, who does have this really advanced technical knowledge, not only of rocketry, but also of anti-gravity propulsion systems, because von Braun was a genius. People like that, when they reach a certain age, they're given the choice. Do you want to just kind of like go through the normal aging process and die? Go for it. But if you want, you can go through this age rejuvenation process. But as far as the public is concerned, you died. And I think something like that happened to Werner von Braun, probably happened to Giuliano Marconi and others who were given this option of going through this life extension technology. So absolutely, yes, behind the scenes in the secret space programs, this life extension technology is available primarily for those who have achieved made an extraordinary contribution to the programs, and the program leaders want such individuals to continue to serve the programs behind the scenes.
On U.S. Army Insider Missions, page 121, JP was taken 100 years into the future, and he saw domes or arcs being used and graded by the military along with the Nordics and other high-level ETs. Does this mean that in 100 years' time, Terra is going to go through some kind of disaster, and we will be in need to use the arcs as some kind of Noah's Ark?
Well, that's a really important question. Now, for those of you who haven't read US Army Insider Missions, JP was taken into the future. He was taken on board these space arcs that were providing a refuge for the human population, and something had happened on Earth. A catastrophe had happened on Earth that had made it kind of inhospitable for most humans. But that advanced life existed, human life existed on these space arcs, and that they were run by the future version of US Space Command. Now, I believe that JP was taken on that mission because that is a possible timeline, that he was exposed to that and brought back because what the future humans wanted to convey was that, well, look, if you don't make the right choices, this is what's going to happen to you. So make the responsible choices. And whatever those choices are, I would assume that they would involve things like being responsible in how we manage the global environment, being responsible in terms of how we collaborate with one another, resolve conflicts peacefully, not through military means, be very careful of advanced technologies such as artificial intelligence that could go rogue. If you manage all those things responsibly, you can avoid this future. But if you don't, this is what awaits you.
Our next question comes from Mel. In your latest book, U.S. Army Insider Missions, JP said that he and other soldiers got memories wiped after each mission. If the military is for disclosure, why do they erase their memories? Isn't it more convincing to have more people providing evidence and personal experience about extraterrestrial lives?
Well, the deep state doesn't operate that way. The deep state doesn't operate by just kind of like allowing people to remember their participation in classified special access programs, secret space programs, and just coming back with their memories, because that's hard to control. If people have their memories, you can't control, who's going to tell their wife or tell their children or tell their brother and tell their family, and all that information get out. The deep state is all, deep state are control freaks. They want to control the process. If they decide disclosure is going to happen, it's going to happen on their terms as opposed to some organic process whereby individuals remember their participation in these special access programs. Now, in the case of JP, he's described how these mind-wiping technologies don't work on him. And the reason I've gotten for that again and again is that these mind-wipe technologies don't work on two categories of people. They don't work well on empaths or natural intuitives, empaths, people who have a strong connection to source energy. And they don't work very well on musicians, because musicians have some kind of understanding or connection to higher mathematical formulas, universal patterns that I don't fully understand. But musicians, they're able to withstand the mind-wiping technologies. But the rest of us, we wouldn't have a clue. We could be out there. I mean, I could be taken out there on these missions and do things, and I get mind wiped, and I have no clue as to what's going on out there.
Susanna writes, "Thank you, Dr. Salla and the team. Your work is much appreciated. I really, really look forward to your webinars. How will the ascension be? Will all souls ascend at the same time? Will family friends ascend together with us even if they are not awake? Those who are not awake, will they go to other dimensions?"
It's a very, very interesting question. Now, I interviewed Suzanne Spooner a couple of weeks ago, and she had someone whose testimony she revealed about something called the event. And there have been people talking about the event going back well over a dozen years. I know this is something Cobra has been talking about. I know David Wilcock has been talking about the event. There are a lot of people that have been talking about the event. I think what the event represents is kind of like this veil between our present world and the world we're moving into, this world of post-disclosure. And this event, however it's going to appear, and I don't think it's far off, what's going to happen on the other side is that these multiple pathways open up to all of us. Because right now, what the deep state has been doing is that it has been restricting us in terms of knowledge of and access to information and pathways that can lead to us becoming optimal in terms of our desires, in terms of our behaviors, in terms of our abilities. They're wanting to restrict us, keep us dumbed down sheep that are just workers for the pharmaceutical industry, for the military industrial complex, for the oil industry. Those are the three big cartels that kind of keep America and the rest of the world subjugated. That's all the deep state wants. As we go on the other side of the veil, those big cartels break away because the truth is revealed. And so now we can all go off into the different pathways, because there'll be many pathways that open up to us. So some of those pathways will be the pathway of ascended mastery through higher meditation. Some of the pathways will be those that want to become alchemists. Some of the pathways might be some that want to become super soldiers in this, something along the lines of Jean-Charles Moyen or Stephen Chua. So I think many pathways will open up.
Our next question comes from Jane. "Thank you, Dr. Salla, Angelika, and your team for all you do. Very grateful. Randy Kramer, super soldier, has mentioned that during a fake alien invasion, very real insectoid types will be utilized to fight against Earth Alliance soldiers. He advised for civilians to stay indoors during this ordeal and not to think these creatures are holographic. Have you heard anything like this from your sources?"
As far as Randy Kramer is concerned, and his idea of this real alien element in some kind of future invasion scenario. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't believe it's going to happen simply because the Earth Alliance and the positive extraterrestrials won't allow it to happen. That there are no real extraterrestrials left that could perform such a thing. Now, that's not to say, and let me qualify that, there are no extraterrestrial fleets left that could be part of that. Now, could the deep state conjure up using holographic technology some kind of fake alien invasion using holograms and some of their reverse engineered craft, and maybe have some of what's left over, what's hidden in terms of extraterrestrials on the planet? In theory, they could, but I don't think that that's going to happen. If it does happen, I think it'll be kind of like used in this kind of jiu-jitsu move by the White Hats, by the Earth Alliance, to kind of like accelerate the awakening process. Because I think that's where we're at, that the deep state has been checkmated. They are going to lose. They know that. But they're just following this scorched earth policy. And one of the scenarios they could follow is this kind of false flag alien invasion. But I think that will be, if not neutralized, it will be repurposed to actually accelerate the awakening and accelerate that event or that passage through the veil, literally the apocalypse, where we move through the veil into this new world.
And next from Carol, thank you, Dr. Salla and Angelika, for everything you do. Was the Paradise, California fire caused by the dark forces globalists due to the fact that benevolent ETs working on technology to benefit mankind and who were also living there? Did some dark forces explode Elon Musk's 40 satellites going into space?
All right. Well, when it comes to Elon Musk's satellites going into space, the 40 satellites, I mean, that was very suspicious. And I don't have enough information to kind of like say whether it was the deep state or not. I simply don't know. When it comes to the Paradise fires, there's several sources that say that there was an extraterrestrial colony there that were helping breakthrough technology inventors and scientists to come up with new inventions that would help humanity awaken and would kind of like resolve our energy problems and come up with, say, new healing modalities and propulsion systems. And because these extraterrestrials were having some success, the deep state decided to use its directed energy weapon systems from these various satellites that it had deployed to specifically target Paradise. And you can see the fires that were there, where they were specific to that they took down neighborhoods, particular houses, as opposed to the surrounding vegetation. That shows that this was a directed energy weapon attack, and they took out a whole town because maybe only 10% of the inhabitants of that town were these extraterrestrial settlements or colonists. But nevertheless, that was a significant enough threat for the deep state that they obliterated all the structures in that town, because the deep state maybe didn't know which houses were occupied by these extraterrestrials, so they took down the whole town.
And from Mel, is our military going to openly recruit super soldiers, including other benevolent ET races, in the near future?
Totally. Yeah, that's going to happen. What we have now is a lull, because the Galactic Federation, the Andromeda Council, Ashtar Command, and the 24-seater races are here. And in particular, the 24-seater races and the 9, they are part of what's happening. They are here to observe the event. They are here to observe our awakening as a civilization. But once we've gone through that, we're like the little chick that's broken through the egg. Once we've gone through that, we're a little chick now. The mother hen doesn't need to protect the egg anymore. The mother hen goes off. You're on your own. Let instinct take over. Get the food, make good choices. Bye-bye. That's what's going to happen to us. And one of the things that the big challenges we're going to face is, how do we deal with the Orion Greys and the Draconians who are going to want to come back? And they're not going to come back in terms of overwhelming armadas and fleets that come in here to take us over. That's not the way they operate. They come in through subversion, infiltration, fifth columnists. We're going to need to deal with that as a civilization. And of course, we're going to need to have beefed up Space Command to directly confront any marauding extraterrestrials that test us, because the Earth Alliance will now be responsible for the solar system that's been handed over to us. The different extraterrestrial aggressive races that are out there, you can bet for sure that they're going to say, oh, what happens if I come in and take over one of the moons of Neptune, Triton or something? What happens if I take over Enceladus and Saturn or something? Are the Earthlings going to object or not? So they'll test. And so we need to have a beefed up Space Command to kind of deal with those kinds of threats. And there'll be recruitment. And there'll be people that will be recruited to specifically learn how to use advanced reverse engineered extraterrestrial technologies and to engage with the marauding extraterrestrials. So yeah, there's going to definitely be a need for super soldiers. That's going to be a big one for the future.
Lena asked, with the 20-year and back program, are the super soldiers fighting in our future or a parallel timeline?
From what I know, the super soldiers that are part of the programs, they are part of our future timeline, as opposed to being in different timelines. What that means is that some of these super soldiers that maybe have gone 20 years into the future and they experience certain things and they come back, they are probably going to witness that same timeline playing out. They're going to be on it, but might not necessarily be that way. There can be significant differences if in some way that returnee changes the future, that kind of temporal paradox thing. That's a possibility. I think by and large, a lot of the people that have served in these 20 back space programs, that part of their service is into the future. I think Chris O'Connor, for example, I think his service encompassed this period of time. They come back and that same timeline is then followed by them leading an ordinary life.
From Dennis, Alex Collier released that med beds would be released in the fall. What are your thoughts on this statement?
Well, we know the med beds are coming, and I mean, there's different types of med beds. I mean, there are those med beds that can heal people of incurable diseases, restore limbs, using holographic technologies. And there's also the med beds that have been modified in a way whereby the original Adamic DNA can be restored. That's what Elena Danaan has talked about in terms of Enki's gift. She's talked about that in her book, The Cedars. I've talked about that in my book, The Galactic Federations. So there's those types of med beds as well. Now, these have been mass-produced on the moon. Various insiders have talked about that. JP has talked about that. And when they are going to be released, I think that's going to be when the deep state has been defeated, because I cannot fathom the deep state allowing these medbeds to be released, because the pharmaceutical industry would collapse. Nor would the deep state tolerate the release of a lot of these free energy technologies, because the fossil fuel industry would collapse. And that's how the deep state gets the bulk of its funding. Only the defeat of the deep state is going to release the med beds and release the free energy and the anti-gravity propulsion systems and so forth. We're probably a months away, so very well could be the fall. But I know from the past, when you make predictions, they don't always hold. But it does look like the end of 2023 is going to be when a lot of these things are about to go down.
And this question comes from Johnette. Hello, thank you. I have a question about the Las Vegas family who told a news channel about 2 weeks ago that a UFO landed in their backyard. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, that's a very interesting incident where that family saw an alien in their backyard, and the police had dash cam footage of a UFO kind of like crashing in that area, and there were witnesses seeing a UFO crashing in that area, and then that family took photographs or video of some sort of being in the background. And what was very curious, well, not surprisingly, was how quickly, on the one hand, there was a mainstream media interest in the crash and what the family experienced, but when the footage of the alien emerged, the young man who took the photos, the video, was discredited, and everything was shut down. So it's like the deep state wants us to accept some of these things that are happening concerning UFOs, but wants to not allow too much to be revealed about what's going on. But nevertheless, I mean, this is what JP, Leonard Denan, others have been revealing or predicting, that right now we're going to have more and more of these kinds of events where aliens are going to be revealing themselves, people are going to be seeing them, photographing them, videotaping them, and that you cannot stop this. And the deep state knows this, but they are in a scorched earth mindset, so they're going to fight to the very, very end, and it'll only be with their defeat that all of the truth is going to be revealed.
You have been listening to Exopolitics today with Dr. Michael Salla. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Join or start a conversation in the comments. Take the time to explore the vast library of best-selling books, webinars, and podcasts by Dr. Salla. Visit exopoliticstoday.com.